Well, greetings and salutations, and welcome once again to the Newsman Weekly Podcast. Thanks once again also to local country music singer Luke Watson for crafting what I believe is this show's perfect theme song. I am joined again this morning by Zac Hiser, the show's executive producer. Good morning, Zac.
Good morning.
And this week we're also joined by Shelby and North Richland County reporter Hayden Gray, who's handling our video chores today. Good morning, Hayden.
Good morning, Carl.
I'll give you all a peek behind the curtain, folks. Hayden is here today because Knox Page's reporter Grant Ritchie had a wild and crazy weekend down in Knox County. He called me this morning, said he just didn't feel like rolling out of bed this early, so I gave him the day off. What he doesn't know is if Hayden does a great job today, Wally Pipp come to mind, and those of you who remember the Yankees from that far long ago. Podcasting is a competitive business. We can all be replaced. But Grant, you enjoy your time down there in Knox County today. You rest easy, Richie. We got this today.
I can't believe it. I can't believe you threw Richie under the bus like that.
Yes, you can.
He's traveling the world. And,
well,
he's out living his life.
That's not nearly as funny, though. You get, once again, people on this team actively, combatively trying to defend my ability to do a funny show.
I just got to stick up for my boy Richie.
He's a Cowboys fan. Leave him be.
That's true.
He's probably. I would say he's on suicide watch, but you really can't say that these days. It's not politically correct. All right, I got to warn both you guys and everybody that's listening. I started my day at 7 a.m. at the doctor's office just to check up. New doctor, though. She said my cholesterol was a bit high. She wondered if it was genetics or if it could be my diet. I said yes, could be both. The only vegetable I eat is dill pickles. I survive mostly on salami, pepperoni, and cheese, and yes, beef jerky here at work. So, leave my cholesterol alone.
It's a lot of sodium.
It is. And, my cholesterol is old enough and big enough it can take care of itself. I told people all during the COVID pandemic when they said, aren't you afraid about going here and there and coming into the office? And I said, people, I make enough bad personal health choices on a daily basis, any one of which is going to drop me dead long before COVID. So, all right. We got
the whiskey you drank killed the COVID anyway.
Well, you know what? I drank enough whiskey to float a battleship around. So there you go. That's a line from Leonard Skinner, in case you were wondering. All right. We got another great show lined up for you today. In a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Richland County Dog Warden Missy Houghton. Some of you may have read my story last week. I know Hayden probably didn't because he has trouble with words.
Thank you.
That the County Dog Warden and Adoption Center on North Home Road recently took in 26 dogs in a 3-day period, including 9 puppies left abandoned in the woods near the Ohio Bird Sanctuary. It raised at that time the canine population up to 117 dogs inside a facility that ain't designed for 117 dogs.
How many is it designed for?
I think maybe in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
When I talked to Missy last week, she said they had dogs pretty much all over the building and rolling cages and in the playroom and in the food room and anywhere you could tuck a dog away. So, yeah, I'll be happy to have Missy on in a few minutes, and she can explain what's going on and how you can adopt a dog and find something on 4 legs that'll give you some love. Let's see, she'll be with us in a few minutes, but let's start, as we always do. Let's talk about the weekend. Hayden, I assume you did at least one thing fun this weekend. What'd you do?
It was basically filled with family and football. Saturday, I got to hang out with my dad, who lives out of state, and then Sunday, I also spent a little time with some family. So other than that, I was just taking in football, taking in the Steelers.
Oh, the Steelers, yes, with your Steelers sweatshirt
Sounds like
on.
a wholesome weekend.
Oh, look, we're 3-0. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Win's a win.
Aren't you going to say, we've won more Super Bowls than anybody?
No, I won't do that. I won't go back on the past.
Yeah, that's good, because I was going to quickly hit you with which team has won more NFL championships.
The one that you're a partial owner of, Carl.
Yes, I am. Owner of one share of stock. But
Stagecoach Super Bowls, as I like to say.
Stop it. Yeah. Go back and tell Jerry Kramer and some of those guys that they were Stagecoach Super Bowls.
I'm just a big rugby fan. I'm not really into football.
Well, I mean, as a Browns fan, I can certainly understand why, because they don't really have a team again this year.
No.
Did you make it to Oktoberfest, Hayden?
I did make it down, yes.
How was it?
It was too many people, but so I stayed inside and was watching Michigan play, and unfortunately they came back and got the win. But
You said fortunately Michigan came back and got the
no.
win?
Unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
I know. I'm mumbling
We
this
forget
morning.
that he's an Ohio State fan because
Yeah,
of his
it's true.
Steelers.
Yeah.
fan.
Mumbling. I know.
Plus he went to Kent
What
State.
time
so-
were you down at Oktoberfest?
Oh, let's see. Probably the end of the Ohio State game till about 6 o'clock.
Okay. Was the Schmitz food truck down there?
It was down there.
Man, I wanted to get some
There
of
was a
that.
big line.
We came down earlier, but they were having problems with it, so it didn't show
Oh.
up till like 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah, on the side of the truck they have, as seen on the Food Network. I forget which show, but there was a big line.
Yeah.
Now, for those who not aware of where we're talking about, it was at the Phoenix Brewing Company on Diamond Street. And well, let me get this straight. You went to an Oktoberfest event.
Mm-hmm.
They have an outdoor beer garden.
Mm-hmm.
They have all kinds of dancing and things going on in the outside beer garden. It wasn't raining, and you sat inside watching college football on TV.
Drinking water, probably.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Drinking sangria.
Yeah. Check your man card, would you please? That's just out of here.
Now, it was sangria. Zach is correct
knew it.
on
I
that
knew it.
department. For those of you who don't know, because Carl never has me on the show often enough,
Well,
I
this
can't
is-
drink beer.
This is your
Unlike
audition.
Carl.
I mean, Richie could be on his way out
That's
after
true.
today, so you know.
But no, I give compliments to their apple sangria. It was very good. I could see Zach drinking it. Carl, I couldn't. But
You
yes,
drink- You drink apple sangria, Heiser?
Sure, yeah.
yeah,
sounds
don't let him
fine.
fool you. But it was
I drink
warm
it
outside.
to hydrate, like
Yeah,
Gatorade,
that's true.
Oh, I drink
in between my beers.
I drink bourbon and water to hydrate because the water's in the bourbons.
That's
Not
good.
much water, but just enough to.
It's a
No,
lot
I
of
didn't-
water in like light beers.
I didn't want to neglect the polka that was going on outside, but
You just ignored it.
there was a lot of people. It was hot.
I'd like to see you in some lederhosen at some point.
You don't.
Maybe if I have you back on the podcast, we'll get you in some lederhosen.
Maybe we'll stop the video side of things for that then.
We just might. Heiser, other than going and not getting the food that you wanted to get, what'd you do this weekend?
Yeah, well, not nearly as exciting as Hayden's weekend, but yeah, we were downtown Saturday as well. It was great. There was so much going on. The Oktoberfest, which I was down there at like noon, and the patio was already packed, and they had live music and had the kids, so didn't really do the bar thing. But we went up to Manifest. We did some free rides on the carousel. Touch a Truck was down there.
Oh, did you get to
Climbed
touch
up
a
in it.
truck?
I did. I touched the fire truck. It was so
Man.
cool.
And
And the fire truck's definitely the coolest one.
Yeah.
No
So-
offense to the Carousel Properties trucks or the snow plows, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fire truck.
Fire
kinda-
trucks are all
Lights,
good.
sirens.
Yeah. Did they turn the lights and sirens on at any point?
They did not.
No.
Oh,
no. Well, I know when we're down at the Playhouse at night, just down the street on 3rd Street is the Central Firehouse. And every night when you're on stage, you hear the sound, you just say, cue the fire truck,
Right.
because it's coming out again. All right, no big excitement for me, fellas, this weekend. I covered the Clear Fork at Ontario game Friday night. It was a good game. Ontario moved to 5-0, and we're about a month away from a big showdown with 5-0 Shelby, so that'll be a game to watch. My Saturday was dive into the script time. I was recently cast in an upcoming play, Death Trap, at the Mansfield Playhouse. Which,
Congrats.
thank you very much, which will stage in mid-October. Got a lot of lines to learn before then. Sydney Brule is very verbose. And we'll talk more about that as the show gets closer, but that's how I spent Saturday. Sunday was at a renewal of the vows wedding anniversary thing down in Columbus, and got back from that last night just in time to start working on this podcast script. So enough of that. Let's talk about some news. Mansfield had its apparent 5th homicide of the year early Sunday morning. 19-year-old man was found shot to death in a house at 459 South Main Street at 2:36 a.m., according to Police Chief Jason Bauman. Officers were called after they received a report of a shooting. The Richland County Coroner's Office on Sunday evening identified the victim as Malachi Miller of Mansfield, who was living at the residence. I went out to the site on Sunday morning because I got an email, so before I went down to Columbus, I'd sillily look at emails that are work-related, and I saw that in there, and I thought, well, I better see what's going on. So I went up there and took pictures, saw detectives, uniform officers working the scene. Crime tape was still up at about 9:30. We'll keep following that. Stay tuned to Richland Source, and we'll update that story in the days ahead. What else is making news? Attorneys for Page Excavating and Lucas have filed a motion to dismiss a City of Mansfield lawsuit alleging improper demolition work at the site of the former Mansfield YMCA on Park Avenue West. The 28-page motion to dismiss was filed Wednesday in Richland County Common Pleas Court. It makes several assertions on behalf of the company. The primary claim, believe it or not, is that the contract between the company and the city that was signed in 2018 specifically authorizes the burial of construction debris and materials, which is the very thing that forms the basis of all the city's claims, according to the motion to dismiss. Company attorneys requested a hearing on the motion, and I'll keep following that case in the days and weeks ahead.
That's going to be interesting. We've talked about this before, but so Page Excavating is arguing that they did what they were supposed to do, essentially.
They did what the contract allowed them to do, but the contract also said everything had to be crushed, dug up and crushed.
And that wasn't the case.
And that wasn't the case. When you look at the pictures, there was a swimming pool that was basically intact, maybe an entire floor.
Cool. There's our pool.
Yeah, it was a pool. That's where you learned to swim,
That's
probably.
our city pool, our new city pool.
It's buried right there. Well, no, it's back underground. But
Can we extract? No, can't extract it.
I think, it's going to be an interesting case. Did the city do a good enough job of inspection? Because one of the things Page's Excavating's attorney said is, we did this work, or our client did this work 5-6 years ago. You signed off on it. You paid the money. And now 5 years later, this is an issue?
Right.
So how did the city inspections, as this work went along, how did they not notice that this wasn't being done properly? I know some of the folks in the city have told me in the lawsuit that they filed claims the same thing, that Page did a lot of work at nights and on weekends to try to hide. But I would think that at some point maybe somebody should have seen something. But that's for the courts to decide, and that's where we're at right now. Hey, the 2024 Halloween scare season is about to take off inside the walls of the former Ohio State Reformatory. Blood Prison's going to open its month-long haunt September 27th. And Hayden, you'll be happy to know that they have a 6'7" warden's widow.
Oh, no.
So she's actually taller than you and actually much louder than you, if you've ever heard her scream.
I don't want to.
Well, I think you should go out there. She'll be back again this year. She's an iconic member of the haunt, along with more than 120 live actors and a bunch of animatronics and costumes and really cool stuff. Speaking of that, Blood Prison owner Vic Amosquita is going to join us October 7th on the Newsman Weekly podcast to give us some more details, even beyond those in a story that I wrote last week. Hayden, if you want, I'll talk to him, see if the warden's widow can come in with him, just so she can scream in your ear.
No, I don't want that.
Hayden's married, so.
Well, that's true. Well, she's a widow, though.
Well, that's true.
And she's 6'7".
No, I've had my experience with the Blood Prison. It's
What?
It's too much for me.
Too
What was
scary.
your experience? Now you got a dish, man. What happened?
My stepsister taught me back in high school. I forget what year. It might have been freshman year, and she was going with some friends and talked me into coming with her. And I'm like, all right. And the scariest part, honestly, besides all the animatronics and everything inside, was I forget the price of tickets, but I think I had a $100 bill. I think my dad had given me a $100 bill, and I'm walking up there. I pull it out of my pocket, and I'm like, yeah, look at this, and I ripped the bill right in half.
Well, you can't fix stupid.
So that was probably the scariest moment of the night. The lovely people working in the trailer selling the tickets rolled out some Scotch tape, taped the bill, took it, and
very agreeable.
I moved about my way, and then proceeded to let a bunch of expletives fly throughout the night. And I think I grew up a lot then. But
what year was that? Do you remember?
That probably would have been like 2013.
I might have been working
I hope
out
you
there
weren't.
at the time.
That might have been what was so scary.
I think I saw you wet your pants in the dark maze.
It's scary just walking through that building on a
It is.
reformatory tour.
Yeah,
Maybe we should all go.
I think, you know what? I think it would be a great. You should get together with the other young folks, and you guys should do the TikTok. I think you should take Mariah,
Snapchat,
and Grace and Katie, and you guys do a Snapchat. Because I don't do the Snapbook or InstaFace stuff, so you guys should go and do that.
You do it, but
I don't do it very well.
We'll let Richie take my place.
Well, you're taking his, so
Yep.
I guess we can
Yep,
do
we'll
that.
swap.
All right. What else is going on? City Council this week. City of Mansfield has plans finally for a new wayfinding signage program in the city. For those of you who keep up with the Mansfield Rising Plan from 2019 or 2018, wayfinding was one of the things that was pointed out as something that would be really cool to have in Mansfield. It would be 2 design consultants with Guide Studio in Cleveland made a presentation to council showing schematic illustrations of what the signs would look like. Mayor Jody Perry said there are 2 primary goals to wayfinding. to tell you how to get someplace and to help you feel like Mansfield is more of a home. It's kind of a uniformed signage approach, which we haven't had here since maybe ever.
Wow. That's good because, you couldn't look on your phone and get directions to somewhere.
Well, this will help Richie find his way to IdeaWorks.
So there.
I'm for wayfinding. It's just.
You're for wayfinding or you're for wayfinding?
Wayfinding.
You're in support of.
I'm in support of wayfinding, which is a cool word for just, street signs that say downtown 3 miles.
Yeah.
That's the aesthetic.
Well, I will let Jody Perry know that you've given your.
Well, she's probably listening.
Given your thumbs up and
you have the Hiser's blessing.
Approved.
Yeah. But the idea behind wayfinding is it integrates navigation and communication tools to provide people with information they need. Old people like me who don't use GPS and all that stuff to reach their destinations, find parking, and much, much more.
I'd be concerned if you didn't know where something was in Richland County.
Yeah, I know where most things are.
Yeah.
But you know what? The whole key for me, way before GPS and maps on your phone and that kind of stuff, back when I started covering high school sports in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, if you had to go to a town where you didn't know where the high school was, like I remember going down for the first time to Bel Air on the Ohio River. I get into Bel Air an hour early. First place I go is a McDonald's because this was the key. I guarantee you the young man or young woman working behind the counter goes to that high school. And I walked in and I said, how do I get to Bel Air High School? Boom. She was a senior. She gave me directions. I got right to the school.
Wow. That was always your thing, McDonald's.
And my doctor pointed that out today. She said, if you'd stop eating McDonald's so much, you wouldn't need, and I said, shh.
That's how I get my directions. And kids these days just don't know how to ask for directions,
No, but that's how I used to find out is you always found a fast food restaurant and the people working there knew how to get to where you wanted to be. Speaking of things that were cool and where you wanted to be, artists from Richland County and beyond shared their talents with downtown Mansfield on Saturday, the 6th annual Mansfield Arts Festival, Manifest. Hiser, you said you were there. What did you think?
It was awesome.
Tell me more about it.
The square was packed with vendors. We stopped for a minute, talked with the ladies from Love on a Mission. My kids were wanting to buy every little ring and necklace they could get their hands on, so I got a couple things. And then across, what is it? Not Mulberry. What's the street that's by the church that they're closing down? Diamond.
Main Street.
Diamond.
It's
Diamond.
Yeah, okay, Diamond.
Right.
Well, Main Street.
Main
Street's the one that's
good. Lord.
Yeah.
We need the wayfinder.
Across from me.
Yeah, but I don't need signage or anything. I'm a really cool young guy. I could just look on my phone.
Shut up.
But I don't know what the hell the street's called.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Across from Main Street, there was the Oddities and Curiosities Zone, which was just like all alternative artists and just different art. There was a lady on stilts, cawing like a crow.
Taller than 6'7", I'm sure.
Taller than 6'7". She was like 8'7".
Cawing like a crow.
Yeah, she was a
on
crow.
On purpose, or was somebody hitting her?
She was dressed like a crow.
Okay.
And it was pretty cool.
Well, I'm pretty sure if I ever created physical art, it would have to be in something called the Oddities and Curiosities Zone.
Yeah.
Because I literally can't draw a straight line.
You should apply next year.
I think I should. I should always apply myself. All right, that's enough from us for right now. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by Richland County Dog Warden Missy Houghton. Stay with us here on the Newsman Weekly Podcast. Richland County Dog Warden Missy Houghton. Good morning, Missy. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Let's start back at the beginning. Tell me about your start. When did you realize that you were an animal lover person? I remember at some point when you and I had conversations in the past, this has been like a lifelong thing with you. So
correct.
Take us back to the earliest that you can remember of how and why you loved animals.
As far back as I can remember. There's pictures of me when I'm like a year old toting kittens around in my overall pockets, and I always had cats and dogs, and my cousins lived on a farm, so I was around horses and chickens, and far back as I can remember. Not sure why. I've always gravitated more towards animals.
I mean, I can't argue with you. I like dogs a lot more than I like people. So
They're a lot more forward with their intentions.
yes, you always know exactly where you stand with a dog.
Yes.
Now, it might change from day to day depending upon how the dog feels. But
Correct.
you
Yeah.
obviously know where you're at there. Now, you joined the dog warden's office a few years ago when you were working for then dog warden Dane Howard.
Correct.
What did you learn about the operation when you were working for Dane and you took over in 2021? And how have you applied what you learned from Dane to your own operation since then?
Dane was excellent in teaching me the administrative side. Obviously, he had a lot of experience with that, being the sheriff for 8 years in Huron County, but he was very good with showing me the administrative side, record keeping, employees, interacting with the employees and how to manage things. So I just kind of took all of his Dane-isms. I actually have a list in my phone of things that he told me not to forget. So I have them, it's like a note. So I try and follow all of those as best I can.
Well, how long? It wasn't very long. I remember when you became the deputy dog warden.
Yeah.
Dane got sick or got ill not long there. How long a period of time from the time you were a deputy that you were the acting dog warden? It wasn't very long, was it?
Yeah, it was probably right around a year. I'd
Okay.
say that I started as a part-time deputy in 2009, and then I went full-time in 2010. No, wait, is that right? No,
Well, you were at the Humane
2019.
Society.
There
Okay,
we
yeah,
go.
2019. Okay.
Yep. So yeah, and then and then took over in 2021. But it was probably right around a year that I became the acting warden. So they
Yes.
promoted me to assistant warden when he got sick and was taking a lot of time off and
Yeah.
everything like that.
All right, now, before you joined the county, you spent 13 years as the director of the Richland County Humane Society. Talk about the difference between those two roles and how well did your work at the Humane Society prepare you for the dog warden's job?
So the Humane Society is a nonprofit organization. They are a 501c3. So that means they run on donations and whatever income their fundraisers bring in. The Humane Society also handles cruelty, neglect, and abandonment cases, and that encompasses all animals. And then the dog warden's office, obviously, is a government agency, so not a 501c3. So that was the most difficult part for me, was transitioning from a 501c3 over to a government office where I had to follow everything for like donations and everything like that. So that part was difficult, but the sheltering aspect of it is the same. You're always trying to stay up with the newest information on how to make things better for the animals. So working in the shelter there and learning everything about that really prepared me for going over to the dog warden's office and kind of focusing more on the shelter aspect of it. I think prior to me coming on, it was more of a law enforcement approach. And while the law enforcement approach is very important to what we do, we also have a shelter full of 114 dogs that need to have focus on them as well.
Right. Excuse me. Now, I did look it up yesterday afternoon. I looked up Ohio Revised Code Section 955.12, and it spells out a county dog warden's role. And it says dog wardens, quote, shall patrol their respective counties and seize and impound on site all dogs found running at large and all dogs more than 3 months of age found not wearing a valid registration tag, except any dog that wears a valid registration tag. Don't ask me why they word it that way. It was written by a lawyer, passed by the legislature. Now, on paper, that sounds really, really simple. I suspect it really isn't.
No.
So, what parts of the job since you've taken over have kind of been the most surprising to you?
I don't know if anything has really struck me as being very surprising. I guess maybe the amount of dog bites, because we didn't deal with that over at the Humane Society, and obviously that's a main component of what we deal with. So just how many dog bites there are and how many of those could actually be preventable, just by learning dog language and respecting boundaries and teaching people boundaries around dogs and, teaching your dogs boundaries around people.
Yeah, you and I and Dane did an interview a few years ago when I was researching for today. I came across that story, and we did a story about how dog bites are preventable if people would simply pay attention.
Correct.
I remember when I was a kid, I was living in, must have been Albany, Georgia, because we were living in a trailer park. And my bus dropped me off, school bus dropped me off every day at the front of the trailer park, and I had to walk all the way to the back of the trailer park where our mobile home was located. And every day in this one little yard, there was this little, like, Boston Terrier. And every day he sat by the gate, and I stopped and I petted him, and he was the most friendliest thing I'd ever seen, and petted him behind the ears every day. And then one day I was walking by, and he was laying up on the porch of this mobile home, but he wasn't by the gate where he always was. He didn't look happy. So I opened the gate, and I walked up to him because I wanted to pet him like I'd always done, and I reached down to pet him behind the ears, and he bit through my lower lip. He wasn't feeling well that day. He didn't want to be trifled with, and I didn't know how to read a dog's language. I should have just kept walking that day. The next day, he was back at the fence, and I hesitated, but we had to get a couple of stitches, but there was more blood than I thought. But yeah, I went home, and I think in today's society, if that had happened, my parents would have rushed probably to try to have the person arrested for having a bad dog. And I remember my mother looking at me saying, "Why didn't you leave it alone?"
Right.
The dog didn't want you that day.
Right.
So
yeah, it's the people expect dogs to always be happy and accept whatever comes their way, and they don't realize that dogs have fluctuating moods as well, and some days they don't feel well and they don't want to be bothered, and a lot of people don't want their dogs to exhibit warning signs. They don't want their dog to growl. They don't want it to show its teeth. That's a way for a dog to communicate with people. When we do meet and greets at the shelter and a dog growls or snaps at another dog, we're like, well, watch. They're communicating. It's saying this is a boundary and don't cross it. Growling's not bad. You want a dog to growl before it tries to bite you because that's a warning. And then hey, I should stop what I'm doing right now. This is pushing boundaries, and it's going to get bad.
I try to tell people when I growl here at work at Richland Source that it's not a bad thing, but I don't know that they necessarily believe me.
Yeah, I don't think that they probably do.
Yeah, I haven't bitten anybody yet. Well, at least that they can prove.
Right,
so it's okay.
Right. That's good. Now,
one of the things I've seen since you took over as dog warden 3 years ago, you've made so many physical improvements at the adoption center since then. Tell me about some of those and which ones are you most proud of and have helped make the biggest difference for the dogs that stay with you?
A lot of this that I've done has been working with the volunteers and the fundraising that they do for us, because it wouldn't be possible to do the things that I've wanted to do if we didn't have such a good group of volunteers that go out and raise funds. Our medical fund is one of the things that I'm really proud of, because we can treat every dog that comes in. We've done ACL repairs, we've done leg amputations, we've done entropion surgeries, we've done an eye removal surgeries, and then all the way down to ear infections and skin infections, and we can treat all of those things. And we've been able to, through donations, I don't think that we've had to pay anything to Phillips for probably 3 years.
Wow.
So
that's Phillips Animal Hospital?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So we haven't had to pay anything for them. We still do, the Rascal unit comes once a month and performs spay and neuters. So we do pay, on top of the spay and neuter fee, medical fees with them, because sometimes they'll do dentals or blood work or things like that while the dogs are there. And then the play yards is another thing that I really am happy about. We added 2 more yards that can join with our big play yard that we have, so we can put the dogs out in play groups, 3, 4, 5 dogs at a time out playing with each other. And that is mentally more stimulating for them than the walks are. And you can do 20 to 30 minutes of that. If you can get it 20 to 30 minutes a day for each group of dogs, that would be completely changing for them. So we're still working on that, because our dogs change all the time. So we have to figure out what play style they have, what group we can put them in, and things like that. So it's difficult to find out everybody that can get along, but we're still working on that.
Well, hopefully they do change fairly quickly. You probably have some some boys and girls that have been with you for an extended period of time. Who's currently the longest current resident?
We have 2 that are in the Mansi Prison Dog Program that have been, they were at the shelter for about a year, and they've been in the prison program for about a year. So they've been with us for about 2 years. And then in the shelter, we have 2 dogs that have been with us over a year.
You know, it's been a while since I've written about it. Tell me about the Mansi Prison Program. How does that work, and how does that benefit the dogs?
So they work with several different groups, but the dogs go into the facility. They are assigned an inmate handler, and they live with that inmate handler in their cells. So they're taught basic obedience commands, and they're crate trained, and then they just stay there until they get adopted out. So they work with them. They get that stuff down really solid. Mansi also trains like service dogs, I believe, as well, for a different program. So it's super beneficial, especially for dogs. Like the 2 that are in there were not doing well in the shelter at all. So we were able to get them out into a different environment where they were more relaxed.
I know if I was an inmate at Mansfield Correctional, I'd like to have a dog in my cell. That would
Absolutely,
be a lovely thing. Do the inmates get training on how to do this beforehand? How does that work?
Yes, I believe that they have to go through training where they're assigned like a senior handler, and they work with that senior handler to monitor their training. They have training classes a couple of times a week where they go up into large groups, and they do a training class so they can monitor how well they're improving.
Well, if a dog is in that program and it's, obviously remaining up for adoption, how will people be able to see it? How will they know it's available? How does that work?
So we still advertise. It is Bishop and Heller are the 2 that we have that are in there. They're still on our Pet Finder page. They're in our adoptable photo album of our dogs. If people are interested in them, they just contact us, fill out an application. If it's approved, we give them the information for the lady that oversees the Mansi program, and she can set up a time with them to bring the dog down for them to meet.
Okay. Then. Obviously, finding homes for dogs that are in your shelter is never easy. Breaking in new lips today. But recently, I think it was about a week and a half ago, you took in 26 dogs in 3 days.
Correct.
How do you absorb that kind of sudden influx into the facility, and what does it look like today? How many dogs do you have?
I believe we're still right about 114 dogs. So with those, 9 of those dogs were a group of puppies. So we were able to split the puppies up into 2 groups. So that was not as bad as having 9 full-grown dogs that we had to place on top of the, 17 other ones that came in. But it is, we sent out a plea for crates after that because we had to start setting up crates to put dogs in. The staff is very good at, we just kind of take things as they come, and that's what we have to deal with that day. So it was just setting up crates, it was setting up rolling cages, it was getting everybody in and vaccinated and going from there. But it is very much just okay, what's going to happen today, and we're just going to roll with those punches.
I mean, I think when we talked about that, you had kind of dogs everywhere.
Everywhere. We have dogs in our clinic room. We have a dog in our food room. We have a dog in a playroom. And then we have them just set up in rolling cages in different rooms and crates in different rooms. So, yeah, they're just tucked in every nook and cranny that we can find.
Now, as you mentioned, among those 26 dogs, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the 9 puppies. These little puppies were abandoned in the woods, I believe, out somewhere near the Ohio Bird Sanctuary.
It was actually somebody at the Ohio Bird Sanctuary that contacted us to let us know that they found them.
As a dog lover, it just broke my heart when I saw the pictures of those things. And I can't imagine somebody just dumping any dogs in the woods or along the road, much less puppies.
Right.
How old were they? How are they getting along today? And update us on the puppies.
So they were probably about 14 weeks old, so a little over 3 months old. We have three left. The other 6 have been adopted. The director of the bird sanctuary actually kept one of the puppies too. So there were 10. We only had to bring in 9, which that was amazing. And that puppy hit the jackpot. So they were all very friendly. They were very scared the first day that they were there. And I was concerned that they were completely unsocialized and they would be somewhat feral, but that wasn't the case. They were very friendly with people. good body conditions too. None of them were skinny. The biggest issue that we had, they had ticks all over them. So, we just gave them flea and tick medicine as soon as they came in. But we got an update from somebody that adopted Sparrow, which was one of the little females, just a few days ago. And she said that Sparrow's already just fit in like she was born to join their family.
Dogs are so much more adaptable than humans, I think. Now, do you guys do you name every dog that comes in?
Yes. Yeah.
So you had Sparrow and...
I just went for birds that were in Ohio, so I just Googled that. So we had Sparrow. I probably won't remember all of them. We had Sparrow, Crow, Grackle, Warbler, Cardinal, Blue Jay, Raven, Chickadee, and I forget the other one.
Excellent. Well, those are obviously Ohio Bird Sanctuary. They get bird names. But 7 of the 10 have now been...
Right. And we have applications on, I believe, all the other ones. So they should be leaving this week.
That is great. What kind of dogs were they again? As far as
Best
you
guess, Catahoula Leopard Dog and Aussie mixes.
Okay.
Best guess.
Now, do you think you'll ever be able, or do you worry about trying to figure out who dumped those dogs?
With those, I don't think so. There didn't seem to be any recordings or security cameras in that area. Somebody knows, obviously, because somebody had 10 puppies one day, and then the next day they did not have 10 puppies.
Right.
So, but it's just, is anybody going to come forward or things of that nature? With the dogs and the health that they were, my priority with those were just getting them into a home. Now, in the case of the 2 Weimaraner puppies that we got in, that one we found out who owned the dogs, and then there were charges pressed. They haven't gone to court yet. So in situations where it is obvious cruelty, then at that point it's very important that we find out who had them.
Now, I see, speaking about adoptions and things, I see people on social media every time I write a story about whatever the current situation is at the adoption center, and people go in there and they see the prices and they complain. Now, I've had a dog at least one dog pretty much my entire life, and I know what it costs to have a dog. And those adoption fees, honestly, are a drop in the bucket. What would your message be to county residents who see adoption fees? And I just looked at them. It's like $50 for dogs that have been in the shelter for over a year, $100 for over 6 months, $125 for over 3 months, $150 for under 3 months. But that includes the spay and neuter, deworming, first round of vaccines, microchipping, a dog license. I mean, if people balk at that price, should they think about even adopting a dog anyway?
They need to think long and hard about future issues that arise with the dogs. We've had to up our adoption fees. They're currently $175, but our spay and neuter cost is going to go up. So we're going to have to put it up to $199. But you can't go to a vet and get your dog fixed for less than $199. So we're doing the spay or neuter, and then we're doing the microchip, which is normally $40 to $70. Well, we charge $40, but at vets' offices, it's usually $70. Rabies vaccine. We do the DAPP vaccine, a Bordetella. Those are each, with an office visit and everything like that, you're looking at $70 for that. We do flea meds if we see fleas or ticks. We automatically deworm every dog that comes into our facility, and any other medical things that we do. We just had a little Shar-Pei mix that had to have her leg amputated and then had complications, so she was hospitalized for a week. Geez. That adoption fee was still $175. We spent over $1,400 on that dog. So I understand that when people are like, that's pricey. The initial cost, maybe you're like, well, that's a lot right at first. But if you break it down for what you would pay at a vet's office, it's it's a fraction of what you would pay out of pocket to get all of that done. And you're getting a dog that is vaccinated and everything like that. So,
right. Yeah, I last time I had to take at the veterinarian that we use. It's also where when we go away, Miss Libby, our little dog, stays there overnight in their doggy hotel type place. And in order to do that, you have to get this fecal exam, I think every 6 months or so, and you have to wait till the dog goes poop. And with Libby, you have to wait till she walks away, because if she sees you pick it up, she's personally insulted.
Right.
But you took that. I take that in, and just that one little test was like $25.
Correct.
And it's just, oh, here's a bag of poop.
Yeah.
And then they call me in 3 hours, say she's fine. I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's everything is all the cost for everything is increasing. So it is. I understand too. A lot of people may not have $200 to, adopt a dog, and I understand that, and that's fine. But regardless, we still have to charge a fee because we are self-funded. A lot of people think that we are paid through tax dollars, and our shelter, our office, per Ohio Revised Code, is a self-funded. So we are funded through the license fees, the late fees, adoptions, donations, things of that nature. So we have to have money to pay our staff. We have to have money to keep our utilities on. So while I would love to be able to just, get
have
everything,
get
get everything
you
done.
Get a dog. You get a
right,
dog.
pull an Oprah.
Yeah.
So I would love to be able to do that, but unfortunately, it is still a shelter, and we still have to worry about maintaining appropriate levels of staffing and things of that nature, and we need money to do that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when we're talking about the difference between a nonprofit and a government agency, I was going to ask you, and you already explained it, but you literally have to live on the money you get from your operation. I know you go to county commissioner meetings, and I know every once in a while they'll write you a check for $1.280 and you get to get something else. But we're going to talk about one of those guys here in a minute. But yeah, I think people need to understand that this is not an agency that gets gobs and gobs of money.
Correct.
From the general fund. You just don't.
No. I have to ask for the money, any money that we receive for above and beyond what we bring in. Now, granted, the commissioners, if we're struggling with money, they have always given us some. It's not like they're like, well, too bad.
Well, I think they paid off the building.
They paid off the building, and then last year we were looking to be in a deficit, so they gave us money from the general fund so we wouldn't be in a deficit. So they're very helpful that way. They don't want the dog warden's office to fail, but still, the bulk of our stuff is funded by what we do.
Right. Okay, we're getting near the end, and it's time for a weekly segment that I call On the Record. I'm going to ask you some rapid-fire, short answer questions. You only get about 5 seconds to give me an answer to each one. If you go over that, you'll hear, eh. That's kind of my professional buzzer.
Okay.
It's all your opinion, so there's no wrong answer.
Okay.
Unless you take too long to answer, and then you'll hear that really bad sound. So are you ready?
I think so.
All right. Friendliest dog breed you've ever encountered?
Pitbull.
Dog breed, this will be interesting then. Dog breed that gets a bad rap based on its physical appearance?
Pitbull / bully breeds.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
If you were a dog, what breed would you want to be?
Oh, gosh. I'd probably end up being a Shar-Pei.
All right. Best part of being the Richland County dog warden?
The dogs.
Easier to get along with, dogs or people?
Dogs.
Yeah, that one I completely agree with. All right, last one. Is Tony Vero the shortest elected official you've ever met?
I haven't met all of them, so I can't say that for sure.
Oh, that's a good answer. I didn't know how you were going to handle it, but I love that answer. Well, Missy, thank you very much for coming in with us today and updating us on what's going on. And let's get the folks. We still have some dogs out there that need your attention, that need your love. If you don't have a dog, or even if you do have a dog and you'd like to have another one, please consider contacting the Richland County Dog Warden and Adoption Center. They got plenty of dogs looking for somebody to love.
Yes.
So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
And folks, we will leave it at that for today. I'll be back in a second to put a bow on this week's podcast. Until then, please remember what Mark Twain said. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.